I'm here. Whoa. Right, got to catch my breath. I had to run to get to the toilet just before today's show. But Frothy Friday, good to be back. Good to be back in action. If you didn't get a chance, go and have a look at last week's video where I go talk to Sean from Outsourceable and Trevor and Sean from Outsourceable. It's really good, really engaging content and really worth a watch if you get a chance. I'm just going to close a few windows here, having a few technical gremlins pop up. So let me close some of these bad boys down and then we'll get straight into it. So yeah, I'm very excited about today's one. So for those who don't know, Frothy Friday is a weekly call I get on where I talk about, my thoughts on marketing, Q&A, interviews. Basically, it's just my way of unwinding for the week. Now, normally there would be a beer in hand, as most people know, but I've been off the alcohol for a couple of months now. And so I've got a off-brand Pepsi Max from Aldi. Here's the Frothy Friday, guys. And we'll just get straight into it. So, as always, with these Frothy Fridays, if you have any questions or you want anything answered specifically, feel free to throw your comments into the chat. It'll pop up on the right-hand side here or left-hand side on your camera, and I'll be able to answer those questions as they pop up. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. Just make sure my audio is working, video is working. Excellent. So, this is a bit of a dealer's choice this week. I didn't get many questions in. Normally, I get a few questions, and I didn't get many in. So I went and asked the team today and said, guys, send me your questions. Send me your thoughts on things that you would like for me to answer on the chat that you've been asked or you get asked in your travels. And they didn't disappoint. This is like a casino when the dealers are playing each other in blackjack. It's I feel like these are higher level questions, but they're still super relevant to the audiences watching today. So I'm just going to get straight into it. We've got a lot of questions to answer. As always, if you have any questions, please whack them in the chat, and I'll endeavor to answer them as soon as I can. So let's get to the first question here, which is, let's see here. Where's my list I had? This is okay. I'm just going to go through here. So Danny, who's on the team here, he's asked, is TikTok actually good for business? Can videos go viral on TikTok better than, say, Facebook or Instagram? I get asked about TikTok a lot, and I've gone in previous videos about where I think TikTok sits in the grand scheme of things. There's some businesses that their whole business model is built around TikTok. Now, I don't personally use TikTok much, but I also am conscious of its ability to drive huge volumes of traffic. And if your demographic aligns with that potential traffic, then it's a huge potential source of potential business for you. So the question that Danny's asking is TikTok good for business? And can the videos go viral on TikTok better than, say, Facebook or Instagram? Yes, it depends, like everything. So I'll answer the second question first because I think it's a bit easier to answer. And can videos go viral on TikTok better than Facebook and Instagram? Yes, 100%. The whole TikTok is designed to do that from an algorithm perspective. It's designed to create emotional and chemical ties to content. So the content short form, it's delivers it a certain way, and it's designed to get you to engage with it and watch more and more of it. That's why people are so hopelessly addicted to it. It's just the way it's been designed. So is it possible? Is it easier to go viral on TikTok? Yes. Just because go viral on TikTok. Yeah. Is it easier to go viral on TikTok than it is, say, on Facebook and LinkedIn? Instagram? Yes. Because the whole system's been designed for it. Doesn't mean to say you can't go viral on Facebook or Instagram, but generally if you see the videos that go viral on Facebook and Instagram are actually reposts from TikTok and the way those forms are. And this is what people don't realize is that TikTok is just a evolved second iteration of what used to be Vines. And the people that are maybe a little bit older that remember Vines and actively worked with them know how viral those could get if they were done properly. The beauty about TikTok as well, especially, is like unlike Facebook and Instagram where they're not prime the platform isn't primarily designed for video. TikTok is specifically designed for video. So that's basically the only content that's shown. So if you're trying to get a video to go viral, YouTube, TikTok are very good platforms to that. But maybe if you're trying to get a video, a post, or an Instagram post, a photo, or a written content to go viral, then that may not be the best platform for that. And is TikTok actually good for business? It really depends on the business itself and what the business, who's the demographic of the business. If you are I think what people don't appreciate about TikTok especially is that, yes, okay, let's say you're an engineering company and you manufacture engineering components. Okay, yeah, your end user and your target demographic may not necessarily be on TikTok. That's a given. If they're over the age of, say, 60, there's a good chance they're probably not using TikTok, especially if they're a male. But I want to put this thought exercise in people's heads. This is what I do with clients, and when I talk to them about platforms like TikTok, especially if they tell me they don't use it, so that's why they don't do it. I think that's the weakest excuse you can have as a business owner, is to say, we don't do Instagram because I don't like it. At the end of the day, we're not trying to sell stuff to ourselves. We're trying to sell stuff to the market. So let me put this thought case to you. So let's say, for instance, so engineering firm, target end user is maybe companies that need laser cutting, say, for instance, right? Okay, so let's say the managing director of the business is a 60-year-old male, 50-year-old male, or a 50-year-old lady. And let's say that their daughter, who's 19 or 20, is in the business, and she potentially does the marketing or admin in the business, or just helps around the place. And dad goes to daughter, oh, look, we've been having trouble with this this company we use at the moment. And the daughter goes, oh, actually, have you spoken to XYZ engineering firm? They look like they do good work. And her only experience with them is something on TikTok, because she's not going to go on LinkedIn. She's not going to go on Instagram. She's not going to go on LinkedIn. She's not going to go on Facebook a lot of the time. It's like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. They're her search engines. So she has seen content that's been produced, and then that association defines her definition of quality, and then makes her comfortable to recommend it to her dad, who then calls them, the company. So that may not be a bit of a stretch from a use case perspective, but you've got to remember that generally the end demographic is very set, but it's actually the recommendations that they make to make decisions is a lot broader audience. So it may be a 15-year-old daughter that overhears their dad, like I said, having an argument over the quality of work in the workshop, and then goes, oh, have you spoken to this company? Because they've seen a TikTok that they've done, and they're quite, she resonates with it and goes, okay, well, these guys are a good fit for us. I feel comfortable recommending because their message is resonating with me. And then I'm able to translate that to what my dad wants to hear, which is his daughter, who's one of the highest levels of recommending a company. You don't know where your business is going to come from. So to wholesale throw out a TikTok because you don't want to use it is just not good business. Now, where TikTok fits in the grand scheme of things really depends on the business. So, like, if you are an engineering company, TikTok would be a lower priority, and would be done further down the line. I would be doing LinkedIn way before I would do, say, TikTok. But let's say I've got a clothing brand and I'm selling clothes, and my consumer is of a certain age demographic. Well, TikTok may be first, and Facebook may be last in priorities. It just depends on the business and what else they've done. But you should wholesale. I would say every business at some point will have to explore TikTok. It just depends on where in their business life cycle they'll do it. And then the second question that Danny had, can content marketing work for LinkedIn for business to business in the same way that it can work for business to consumer on Instagram? Yeah, 100%. There's so many businesses out there that LinkedIn is their primary source of traffic because they have a very, very strong content strategy based around how LinkedIn works and how people engage with LinkedIn. And let me explain a little bit of how that works. So there's a big misconception when it comes to social media and content, especially in content marketing, that people don't treat it like the real world. So what I mean by that is I look at things like social media, like going down to the pub or going to a networking event, things like that. Social media acts a lot like that. You have a whole bunch of people in the room with a similar interest, and in pub case, maybe drinking beer, but people that have a very similar interest from all walks of life, engaging and communicating with each other. So let's use the networking event as an example. So if anyone's in the audience has been to a networking event, you know that you don't just walk into a networking event and shout on the top of your lungs that we do this and we're good at this and we're awesome at this and look at this project we've done. Generally, the way networking works is you go up to someone, you introduce yourself, you talk to them, you ask them questions, they ask you questions, you answer them, you talk about stories, you create rapport. Doesn't matter what you do, you create rapport. Social media is the same thing. What you are trying to ultimately do with social media as a business is create rapport. It's not a freaking billboard for your business to go how awesome we are. It's a tool that's designed to create rapport with your potential customers. And it doesn't matter whether you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. You are trying to create a rapport and engagement with your potential customers. So if you keep that in the back of your mind, it just changes. You may change the wording and the tactics slightly because it's a more professional audience, but you're still just trying to create engagement and rapport with your target audience. So yeah, 100% it can work. And business to business is almost easier because less people do it well. There's a lot of people on Instagram and Facebook that do a really good job of telling stories. LinkedIn doesn't seem to have that. There's some people that do a really good job of that, and then there's a lot of business owners that have been told they need to be on LinkedIn that treat it like a basic glorified billboard. So I would argue that content on LinkedIn works better at the moment at this physical point in time because there's just less people doing it well. So you get a very, very good share of the eyeballs at the moment. Will that be the case in 5 years? Probably not. But right now, it's a decent, it's a really good case for it at the moment. So if you are a business and you have a B2B element or even a B2C element, LinkedIn is actually a platform. Again, I get a lot of business owners that are like, oh, I don't go on LinkedIn. I don't use LinkedIn because I don't use it. Well, there's 600 million users. And I know for a fact a lot of business owners use it as their Facebook now. So you're missing out on business if you're not on it, even though you may not personally like it or use it. All right, so Tep in the team has asked, how does pay-per-click help with search engine optimization? So basically, how does something like Google Ads help help you rank better in Google? Good question. So there's basically two parts of this. So the first thing is that it doesn't directly help. You don't run Google Ads, and that has any tangible effect on the search engine optimization. They are two separate departments within Google, and they're almost airlocked from each other to stop that potential of someone spending millions and millions of dollars on Google Ads, then reaping some kind of tangible benefit on search. It doesn't work like that. That's a big myth. But it does help indirectly. And what I mean by that is there's a thing in marketing called attribution. A lot of businesses have it, but an attribution in marketing is basically determining what has caused an action. So like in this case, let's say for instance you're a plumber, you get an inquiry. You want to know where that inquiry has come from and what's caused that from happening. How do you attribute that inquiry to some kind of effort? Whether it's putting flyers out into mailboxes or paid ads or search engine optimization. So where Google Ads and search engine optimization work with each other is multi-channel attribution. So you have what's called, so everyone knows about attribution, but not many people know about what's called assisted attributions, which is something you can track in Google Analytics, where Google actually tracks over a set period of time that, let's say for instance, you see a billboard with My Online Guy on it, and then you search My Online Guy and come to it, then that's technically that billboard. The cost of that billboard can be partially attributed to the inquiry that I got. So you'll see this a lot with Google Analytics. You can track the online stuff to see assisted attribution. So you can see that Google Ads is directly helped to assist in the inquiry that you got through search and vice versa. Or you may have people click an ad multiple times and then it's got in direct attribution multi-channel to itself. It's like basketball. You got a thing called an assist in a basketball, and it's one of the key things that people track in basketball as a measure of performance, because not everyone can just throw slam dunks down. You've got people that have to assist these people to score buckets. And Michael Jordan, if it wasn't for Scottie Pippen, he wouldn't score anywhere near as much, because Scottie Pippen assists a lot in Jordan throwing big buckets down. So that's where Google search can help paid ads, and paid ads can help Google search. And I'll tell you an example of this happened recently, where Instagram was helping to drive sales through organic search. So we work with an influencer, and she sells a product, and she approached us and asked us how she was running Google ads, and she wasn't sure if they were working. We're not running the ads, but someone else was running the ads, and she wasn't sure if she was getting a return. And on paper, it looked like she was getting a return, but when you drill deeper, Instagram assisted in like 70% of all of the attribution that she was getting. So basically 70% of all the revenue she was generating was in some way tied back to Instagram in some kind of assistance level. So people would see her on Instagram and then type in the brand in search, or someone would see her on Instagram and then go to the website, leave, come back through a Google search. So her most valuable channel by a long stretch was actually Instagram in that case. So that's how PPC, pay per click, can assist search engine optimization and the reverse. So Cam has asked, we are starting to struggle. Okay, so this is a business, in a business context. We are just starting and struggling, and my budget is limited. Where should I start with online marketing? So I'm going to frame this a little bit better. So you've just started in business. Budgets are tight. You're wearing several hats. You can't just spend $5,000 a month on marketing to make things better. So what can you do as a business that's just starting out, and where should you start with online marketing? Well, I was only talking about this today to one of the other members of the team. Startups are really good at making big waves from small rocks. So what I mean by that is not all businesses have a massive rock that can just drop into the ocean and it creates big enough waves for people to notice. A startup that doesn't have the budget can only afford a small rock. So the goal is, how do we drop this rock into the ocean to make a big enough wave that will create enough noise for people to notice? So even though you're maybe not a startup in the traditional sense, well, you're not a startup in like the high growth tech sector, if you are a new business, you're technically a startup. So the ultimate goal of any online marketing is to go, where can I allocate whatever budget I have to the place it's going to create the biggest wave with the smallest rock, or with the rock that I currently have. So it may be like in their case, it may be, let's say for instance, you're a cleaning service, right? And you just started out and you don't have a huge budget for marketing. Well, actually, I'll use myself as an example. Why not? So when we started My Online Guy, I didn't have a huge budget for marketing. And to be fair, I don't have a huge budget for marketing now. So what did I do? I went, okay, well, how do I get the eyeballs that I need to be able to spread my message, so to speak, for the cheapest way possible? And for me, that was doing Facebook Lives. So one thing I did have is a lot of time. So I would do Facebook Lives like this pretty much every day, because it was like, okay, well, it cost me pretty much nothing because, I have the equipment already, so it doesn't cost me anything, but that reach will increase over time. So I didn't worry about search engine marketing at the start, or Google ads or anything at the start. I went, how can I get eyeballs for as cheaply as possible? Because I'm lucky that if I can get the eyeballs generally I can convey my message well enough through a medium like video to be able to get them to at least talk to me. And once they're talking to me, then I'm good. So if I was a cleaner, say for instance, that's what I would be doing. Is I would be doing content marketing that's really cheap and cost effective to do. Something like Facebook Lives, YouTube, things like that, to drive traffic. And if you need an immediate shot in the arm, because those things take a long time, get in Facebook groups, provide value in Facebook groups, get your name, get your brand out there and visible, and make sure that people know, can correlate what your brand is to what it stands for and to what it does. And if you can do that, That's that small rock. You can generally produce enough waves to get a big enough budget to do something more concerted. So that's how I would go about it. If I was a startup business that, is struggling to make ends meet but needs the business, go to where the eyeballs are, where they're cheap, and just really, really swap time for money. So Hayley has asked, what platform and content should a small product-based business be using to gain quality leads and sales, right? So if you're a small product-based business, like a little Shopify store, what should you be using to get more sales? Again, small rock, big ocean, small rock, big waves kind of thing. Well, the beauty about making products, and I think people don't appreciate this, is that having products and selling products, everyone focuses on the market that's immediately in front of them. So let's say, for instance, I was selling this can of Coke, right? I made custom Coke cans, or I sold a custom flavor of a cola. So like your immediate thought is that I want to sell this to people that like cola, right? That's a very, 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 very expensive way to market anything. If you target the end consumer and the end commercial intent, it's a very, very expensive way to market. Very effective way. If you ran ads for people that like cola and you showed them a new flavor, that's going to be a very effective way to do it. But you're basically you're going to need a big rock to make big waves. Whereas if you want to use a small rock to make big waves, you actually need to get smart and think about where those eyeballs come from, and then target those. So in this case, right, cola. So let me think about it. Okay, so what is the reason I'm drinking this right now? Well, it's actually, the reason I'm drinking this is because I'm not drinking alcohol at the moment, and I need someone to swap that with. So you could be effectively targeting people that are trying to quit a vice like alcohol, or trying to find an alternative to something they do at the moment. You could go further up the funnel and help people actually get to the journey to where this is. So like go into Facebook support groups and things like that, where people are like, Alcoholics Anonymous groups, target those and go, this is a great, aid to supporting that, helping with tips and advice, talk about, think about the reason you actually created it in the first place. So let's say the reason I created this drink in the first place was because it's got less sugar and that's good for people's health. Well, then I would be actually talking through the process of how I came up with it, helping people on their journey to creating a product like this, because there's a lot of time, energy, and effort that goes into creating something. So you should be breaking that down and talking about the bits that got you to that point. So for instance, right, Pauline, for those who don't know, has a small e-commerce business and fits this. She makes she engraves these beautiful boxes. Well, there's a lot of people that maybe don't necessarily want to buy a box now, but are actually just interested in crafts in general. So we talk about, as part of what we do for Pauline, we talk about how it's gifts for different types of events. So it's not necessarily people looking for our boxes, people looking for ideas for gifts. It's also people looking for creative ideas for gifts. Ideas for different events like birth, keepsakes, and people looking for christening gifts and end of school gifts and end of school ideas, because those people, they may not know about our product, but could potentially end up buying our product if it's a good fit for what they actually need. So my suggestion to anyone that has a small product-based business that doesn't have a huge budget is to stop targeting the bottom of the funnel, which is people looking for cola, and think about the further up how people make a decision and get them to drive to the bottom of the funnel. So that's what I would say to that. Um, so Brandon asks, in the context, he had a third year university student randomly find him on Facebook based on the radio work that Brandon does, and I wanted to know whether digital marketing has gotten easier or harder to get started or get a career in versus 10 years ago. So I'll answer that first one. So I was in the digital marketing space, but it was for myself. So I can only speak to my own experience. I actually think it's way easier to get into the digital marketing space now. And that's simply because there's more demand for the service. I was speaking to a group of kids, a group of teenagers at a school the other day, and I told them that. I said, like, if any of you are actually serious about getting into industry, I could introduce you to 5 or 6 agencies right now that would hire you on the spot. Because the beauty, why I think it's easier, if I'm honest, is because there's more information available about how to do it. So 10 years ago, it was actually quite hard to learn how to do digital marketing because there was less information on YouTube and less courses about it. Now, we can take someone that has no digital marketing experience and get them up to speed really quick because all the information is available. And then we can teach them the practical application of it, and then we can market that skill and use that skill. So I would say that it's gotten way easier to get into digital marketing. I think people just take the wrong approach to doing it. If someone was really serious about digital marketing and all they have to do is give me a call or walk into this office and say, I really want to get into a career in marketing, that's all they would need to do right now. You can walk into any agency like that and get an entry level job because you can teach the rest. You just have to, and if I was going to suggest something that people could do to help themselves along, I would like try and get an underpinning knowledge in the area that I want to specialize in to get a better foot in the door. So that's the answer to the first question. And if your role as a marketer is easier now, then what was it in the past? Okay, so if your role as a marketer is easier now, then it was in the past due to the tools you currently have available. So basically, yeah, is it easier now because of the tools we have available, as opposed to in the 10 years ago when a lot of the software as a service stuff we use for marketing didn't exist? Yeah, of course it was easier. Marketing is easier now because there's a lot of tools that are available that will really help you speed up and amplify the process. It's like any industry. People were quite comfortable and quite happy with horses until the car came along, and then when actually I'm going to start driving a car because it doesn't necessarily change the fact, like nothing's changed in the fact that I need to get somewhere. It's just an easier way to do it. Marketing is the same way. It's like the need for digital marketing is always, well, has existed for a long time. And the way we do it hasn't necessarily changed, but there's a lot of tools that act like a power drill versus a hand operated drill, or a horse versus a car versus a horse. So yeah, it's easier, but it's harder for the end consumer to find someone that has experience now because it is easier to do. So it's harder. It's hard, like a lot of inexperience in the market can be covered up by the tools that exist now. So, it's not a lost art by any stretch, but like, yeah, I think that's how I'd answer that question. So Daniel has asked in our chat, one question I actually need answering for a friend, and I haven't looked into yet, is so a friend has created a new website for their business. What do I do with the old one? Or preempting that in terms of how to approach redoing a website without just making a whole new one from scratch. Okay, so you are making a decision to create a new website because you don't like it for some reason, something's triggered you to do that. What do you do with all the time, effort, and energy that's gone into building the first one? It feels like a waste to throw that and put that in the bin, and most of the time it is. And it's interesting. That one's an interesting question because we face this a lot. as an agency. We get a lot of people who come to us, and you can tell, you can just tell that they don't want to have to just start again, because they were sold in the past that this website would see them out or what have you. Um, so this comes down to the fundamental understanding of your own business and planning where it's going to be. Now, it's impossible to know where you're going to be 6 months from now in business, right? Like, no, that's not necessarily what I'm getting at. It's more like, I always ask people when we build websites, where are you going? What are you intending to add as services in the future? What are you hoping to achieve? A, from rebuilding this website, and B, where you want to, and where you want to be as a business. Because the best way to kind of future-proof a site, so you don't have to wholesale rebuild it every time, is kind of trying to build it for the future. So if you build a website for your current requirements right now, I can guarantee you that in 2 years it'll be obsolete, and there's a good chance you're going to have to rebuild it if situation changes. But if you try and build a website, taking the future into as far as you can into mind. So let's say, for instance, you know that the future of your business is booking online, but you don't currently do that as a service. Well, if you don't take that into consideration when you build it, by the time the website's live and running, you're probably going to need it. So I always would err on like someone needing that to build it for, but not with, and just build and then just add the service when you're ready. Generally, things that people can take from their old website, photos, images, general structure. If it's structured well, you can generally use the bones of the old website to create the body of the new one. By what I mean by that is like your menus and all that, the content contained within your website. Generally, you can use a lot of that to create the new stuff that needs to be on the new website. If it's built well, then generally you can take the call to actions and all the structure, all the elements that are designed to convert, the forms and stuff. You can generally take as a big chunk of that and use that as well on a new site. But it's very hard to take a square peg and jam it into a round hole. So if the website is not fit for purpose, it doesn't matter how much you try and smash that into the round hole, it's never going to fit. So I think there's a physical limit to what you can take from an old website and put it onto the new website, unless you are just literally giving it a birthday. So for instance, Ryko Ingleburn, one of our best clients, one of our most successful clients, we gave his website a birthday. And all we did is made it look different and used all the existing content that was there, because from a search engine perspective, it works really well. So it's a lot more cost effective to do, but very few. But that's because the website was built right from the start, so we were able to do that. So to answer your question, what do you do with the old one? Generally, in most cases, unfortunately, you're throwing it away, unless you can use the skeleton for something, or use the imageries and stuff. But most websites, the old websites, become a post-mortem on what not to do in the future, unfortunately. So hopefully that answers your question there, Daniel. So Will has asked, what is the future, if any, for Facebook and Instagram marketing in light of the iOS 14 update and Meta's $332 billion stock loss and dwindling user base? Yeah, I was waiting for this question, and it's a question that everyone needs to acknowledge. So I have my personal opinions on this. I personally think long term. So this is my opinion, of course, and everyone's got opinions. I think Facebook is going to die a slow death, and it's going to be a death over 10 years, a decade. It's not going to be a death like overnight. It's going to end up like Yahoo. Yahoo is still active and still relevant and still doing stuff, but it has nowhere near the sway and force that it used to. Facebook is going to do that, and it's going to make way for something that is more decentralized. I think personally, I think everyone's just about sick and fed up with the way Mark Zuckerberg handles all our data. Even though as a marketer, it's very important data to us, and this got shown by the iOS 14 update, which, for those who don't know, was a change that Apple made to their phones, to their operating system, that allowed people to opt out of giving people data. So before iOS 14 update, you by default were giving data to Facebook and Google's and stuff of the world. Basically, what iOS 14 did is it made it optional, which smashed Facebook, especially because a lot of the ad revenue it generates relies on us as marketers using that data and using their platform to remarket through other applications. So basically, you would come from Facebook, click an ad, it would go to a website, and then we would retarget you through different applications and different browsers, so like through Safari and things like that. It's a lot harder to do that now on an Apple phone. On a Google phone, still very easy to do. On an Apple phone, if they've opted out of being retargeted and remarketed to, then you have to do some server-side stuff to make it happen. But again, very, very, it hurt a lot of businesses that made that their business model early in the piece because it was super effective. So I think what I think will happen from here is, Facebook will become the next Yahoo of the world. Its Messenger app will still be relevant 10 years from now. It's so embedded and ingrained in society. But the news feed will be something of the past. It will be like Yahoo Finance is. There'll be a very, very core. There'll be a whole cohort of people that will use it because that's what they're used to. But there'll be better alternatives that arrive. And we're starting to see that. TikTok's growth is, whether you like TikTok or not, has been exponential. And the reason for that is that it just provides a better user experience. So I think even though Facebook has implemented Reels into their Facebook newsfeed, I don't think it's going to be enough to stop the hemorrhage. The only saving grace that Facebook's got is it's sitting on a bucket of cash. So it's lost $332 billion in stock value, but it's still sitting on a heap of cash. So it can acquire its way out of this. I think if Facebook is going to fix itself, it's going to acquire its way out of this. So, like acquiring Instagram, for instance. It finds another Instagram of the world, or it finds another emerging tech of the world, and next thing it diversifies. But I think Facebook itself will become the next Yahoo. But I think Meta as a company will exist forever. It will just acquire new technology as it goes, but Facebook itself will just be relegated to Messenger, and it'll be the message boards of the 2000s, basically. So that's my prediction on where that's going. Okay, so Von is on our team here, and he said, I have an existing website built 5 to 8 years ago. Do I need to rebuild it to keep it up to date with today's general trends, algorithms, or structures? So a different flavor of the same question we got asked before, but it's a really interesting way to put it. So the core question is, do I need to update my website to keep up with the latest trends, algorithms, or structures? No. There is plenty of businesses that generate a lot of revenue, and their websites are way back, from the early 90s. They don't work on mobile or do anything, but they generate millions and millions of dollars in revenue. It really depends how much your business relies on the website. So if your business barely relies on a website, then just why would you bother? Unless you're making a strategic decision to move that way. If you're just updating your website for the sake of updating it, that's not a good enough reason. There needs to be a utility reason for changing something that exists already. And making it look better is not a valid reason in my books. It needs a specific purpose. Now, if you're one of these businesses that's moving to building an online shop and an online presence and starting to make a push towards that, then yeah, okay, of course, it makes sense. But I think if your business, if you derive a significant portion of your business from the web and from the internet, then I think it's important to keep your website updated and redone regularly to keep up with the trends, because that's a big risk to your business by like trends changing and traffic dropping off because Google doesn't like it. But if your business exists in the real world and doesn't use a website much, well, then don't worry about updating it. who cares? It's not affecting you much. And then I would wait for some kind of trigger to cause that, whether it's losing revenue or making a push into the online side or your target demographic getting younger or something like that. And then I would look at the website. So that's to answer your question. And then Von has asked, if you have a potential client, what are the list of things you look for on their current site before sending them a proposal? Well, I think utility is one of them. I think gone are the days where you just update a website for the sake of making it look good. You need to fundamentally understand what the old website is not doing now versus what it needs to do now based on the business goals of the business, other goals of the business. So, for instance, let's say you're looking at a website and looking for things, triggers for the proposal. I would go, okay, well, where does a big proportion of your business come from? Well, if we make this website more conversion centric, call to action buttons, inquiry forms, making them better, then you'll get a better return on the traffic you're currently getting. So I would always tie a proposal, I always do tie a proposal back to some kind of utility and trigger. Whether it's increasing the conversion rate of the site by adding more call to actions or making it a better user experience, or their trigger is it doesn't work properly and you need the website to work properly. Well, then you might go, well, we might as well redesign it to make it convert better if we're going to spend all this time, energy, and effort improving the technical side of the website. So those are generally the triggers I use that I look at. I also look at mobile responsiveness, so how the website works on mobile phone or cell phone, because that makes up 2/3 of the global traffic now. So it's very important for a business to make sure their website works well on mobile, because you will lose customers if it doesn't. So they're the kind of things I look at. And then we'll end on this question, which is from Diane, and she has asked, "What are the current trends and strategies in marketing today?" Very broad question, but I'll just stick to one. I think there's one overarching trend in marketing, and that's authenticity. Gone are the days of pets.com having a sock on their hand or whatever, using gimmicks to sell things online. That used to be a big part of it. A big satisfaction guarantee button was a very, very good way to sell something. But actually, the best way to sell things online now, or sell a business online, is to be authentic and to really showcase the business and the value it provides to people. So a big overarching trend is content and valuable content. I think every business should be producing content that provides value to its audience, as opposed to just trying to create ads that provide no value. That in itself is a trend. I think the trend of short attention spans is coming to a head. So the reason the TikToks of the world work so well is because we're all conditioned to have shorter attention spans now. Everything that is produced on the internet now is about getting eyeballs and getting engagement for as long as possible. And humans, unfortunately, with the way mass media is done, our attention spans are so small that we can only handle 30-second chunks of information at a time. So I think the trend of quick, short, witty, sharp content is going to stay, and it's going to be something that stays on for longer. The days of me doing an hour and a half live stream, an hour-long live stream, are going to go to the wayside. What we're going to do with this stuff is cut it into 1-minute chunks, 2-minute chunks. It's why, Joe Rogan, why he's the most popular podcaster on the planet or media person on the planet. He still repurposes the content and cuts it into 8-minute, 7-minute sections, because not everyone is willing to listen to a 2-hour podcast. So when he just takes a highlight reel from something, from an interview, he knows, his team knows that that's the best way to present the content. So I think a trend towards that, a trend to authenticity, are the two things that we will be putting a focus on with our clients as we go forward. Is how do you present authenticity, how do you provide value, and how do you just get the information across as concisely as possible, best suited to the platform it's on. So repurposing content is going to be a big trend this year as well. So that's the questions I had penned in for today. Haven't had any questions, so I'm just going to leave it here for now. I'm going to go home and spend a bit of time with the family. So, guys, if you enjoyed this, let me know. I'll get the team to ask a whole bunch of questions next week. And I'm going to cut this into sections to make it a little bit easier to digest as well. So, for those who have watched today, thanks so much for watching. And I'll get you all, and I'll talk to you all next week. Thanks, everyone.